Senate debate this week is focused on a hotly contested private member's bill, which would expand the exemption from the carbon tax for farmers to both natural gas and propane. Federal Liberals, including Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault, want the bill voted down, while Tories want the opposite. Both are lobbying senators, but that debate in the Red Chamber took a real turn recently.
I will fight hard for my cause and my party. But I want to do it in a respectful manner, colleagues. And if I didn't on Thursday, that isn't acceptable.
I see one senator rising.
The high-stakes bill has led to tense and even angry debate among senators, with Conservative Senator Don Plett there apologizing for his own behavior in the chamber. The Conservatives have been campaigning, as you heard there, for the bill's swift passage through the Senate, but their tactics are now under scrutiny after allegations a social media post from MP Andrew Scheer urging Canadians to call two senators and voice support for the bill led to Ontario Senator Bernadette Clement receiving a threatening phone call. Tory leader Pierre Poilievre was asked about that today. Have a listen to what he said.
Whoever uttered that threat should be held accountable. I receive threats all the time, as do members of my caucus. It's terrible when it happens. That does not change the fact that taxing our farmers makes food more expensive for everyone, and that's why senators should immediately pass common sense Conservative Bill C-234.
I spoke with Senator Clement earlier today and started off by asking her about the nature of the calls her office has been receiving.
Sure. So after what happened in the Senate, I went back home to Cornwall, Ontario, and I wasn't really going to talk about this any further. It's part of the job. I didn't like how I was spoken to. It didn't feel right, but I was going to get on with things. But when that tweet was posted, it did cross my mind that this could lead to something of concern. But I put it out of my mind, and then the next day, the calls started coming into the office. And this is something that we do in our office, is we answer the phone. We try to engage with constituents, with people who have concerns. And so the phone was being answered by, a young staffer in my office. And there was anger and frustration, and that's fine. She kept taking those calls, but then one came in with a suggestion that this person would come to my house. And when that call was made, I was in my house in Cornwall. And I started to wonder about my safety in ways that I hadn't wondered about it before. And I've been a public person for a long time, a city councillor for 3 terms, mayor of Cornwall during the pandemic. But in that moment, I had to wonder. I live alone. I'm proud to do that. I'm proud to be in public spaces and to be a public person. But for me to feel afraid in that moment, afraid enough that I decided to leave my house to make sure that I would be okay, that I decided to speak to my family about this, was concerning. And it's at that point that I decided that I would take to social media to give some perspective to what happened in chamber. In other words, explain the adjournment, explain what I was doing, what my job as a senator is, what my role is as deputy facilitator of the Independent Senators Group. And that post received a lot of attention, good, and some bad. There was a lot of hate and misogyny and racism. And when I stood in chamber this week, I wanted to talk about the fact that when we speak to each other, it has to be done respectfully. When we go online, we can disagree. That's what we do in Parliament. But we have to think about and reflect upon how we do that. And think about the consequences. Now, I'm not saying that any of the senators who retweeted that post or the person who posted, I'm not saying that they intended for any harm to come to me. Not at all. I don't think they want me to feel unsafe. They want me to show up and do my job. It's more about having a conversation publicly amongst ourselves, but with Canadians, about the fact that, you know, we have to do this job, we have to disagree, we have to be passionate about issues without intimidating or posting things online that could have consequences that we did not intend.
I did read in one report, Senator, that the matter and those threats in particular had been referred to either and or police, Senate security. Can you confirm any of that?
Yes, and I want to say that, you know, when threats come in, you second guess yourself. I have second guessed myself throughout this entire week. Is it an empty threat? Am I worrying too much? When I called the Parliamentary Protective Service and when I engaged with them, when my staff did, we were treated with great respect. They followed protocol. They never suggested that we were worried for nothing. They took it seriously. Part of the protocol is that I had to speak to Cornwall Police Service because I was in my house in Cornwall at the time. And I was treated there too with great respect. We talked about the fact that we wear panic buttons, that there's a security process in place. And so, yes, I followed protocol when that call in particular came in, and have felt properly treated in that security process for sure.
I wanted to also put to you comments today from the leader of the opposition, because it was a member of the opposition who initially posted that picture. He said that he revoiced his opposition to the bill at hand and said that we encourage people to make those calls in a respectful, intelligent way. Went on to say whoever uttered the threat should be held accountable. It's terrible, and when it happens, that does not change the fact that taxing our farmers makes food more, farmers and food, pardon me, makes everything more expensive for everyone. I'm paraphrasing just the last part of that there because the transcript isn't exactly clear. But in essence, he denounced the nature of those threats. The Conservatives also, I know that you said tonight that this was sort of a course of duty for you, the adjournment, part of your regular job. They kind of disagree with that assessment, and they have advanced the position that you are trying to stall the passage of the bill. I'm wondering if you can weigh in on that.
I was not stalling the passage of the bill. I was ensuring that my colleagues, who could not be in chamber that evening for very valid reasons, I was ensuring that they could speak, as they did this week, ensuring that the debate continues, that they could weigh in on this very important bill. It was interesting. We had those two speakers, two of them from the group that I represent, the Independent Senators Group, on opposing sides on this bill. But it was important for them to be able to participate in the debate, and that debate took place. I never intended to stall. I was ensuring that more senators could participate in the debate and do so in a timely way. So there was no stalling. I had not been contacted by any minister on this issue. No one had suggested that that's what I should do on behalf of anyone. It was really to ensure that my colleague could speak this week.
Okay, Senator, I'll leave it there. I appreciate you making the time for this conversation, and I do hope and wish the best for your safety. Thank you.
Thank you.